Good evening, I'm Prof Michael and you're watching Kini News, the show that brings you today's biggest stories. If you have close to R1 billion in assets, why would you need a R2 million bribe? That is the argument being used by Tengku Adnan's lawyers in his bribery case. UMNO Treasurer Tengku Adnan Tengku Mansor was not too happy in court today when he was questioned about the asset declarations he made while in cabinet. According to the Malay Mail, Tengku Adnan became flushed and angry when grilled by the prosecution. Tengku Adnan had earlier failed in his bid to have the Kuala Lumpur High Court hear portions of the trial involving his asset declaration exercise as a cabinet minister behind closed doors. Justice Muhammad Zaini Mazlan ruled that the public must be allowed to hear the details in order to have the trial be seen as transparent and fair. When examined by Defence Counsel Tan Hock Chuan, Tengku Adnan said he declared assets of over 938 million ringgit in 2001 when Dr. Mahathir was Prime Minister. That year, Tengku Adnan was appointed Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department. In 2006, Tengku Adnan declared that his assets amounted to 711 million ringgit. At the time, he was appointed Tourism Minister by then Prime Minister Abdullah Ahmad Badawi. In 2013, Tengku Adnan declared that his assets dropped to 691 million ringgit to then Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak. Tengku Adnan was Federal Territories Minister for an entire term. In 2016, Tengku Adnan declared 782 million ringgit in assets. Previously, Tengku Adnan attributed his huge assets to being a successful businessman prior to joining politics. Tengku Adnan is currently facing trial for accepting a 2 million ringgit bribe from a property developer. The defence team's strategy involves proving that Tengku Adnan was very wealthy and had no need for the bribe. Harapan's collapse as the federal government may have hurt PKR President Anwar Ibrahim's chances of becoming Prime Minister, but to Anwar Ibrahim, power is not as important as having principles. PKR President Anwar Ibrahim said Azmin Ali and his people who left the party have betrayed their struggle, including to reject corruption and abuse of power. In a video message to remaining party members, Anwar reminded that PKR had taken a difficult stand, which is consistent with its principles.
Kita diberi peluang untuk bersekongkol dengan kelompok lama yang telah merusakkan negara kita. Kita memilih untuk kekal dengan prinsip yang meninggalkan kita mengkhianati amanah perjuangan kita.
Anwar further reminded that the party's aim has always been to reject corruption, uphold Malay Muslim interests without compromising on rights of others, as well as to ensure fair distribution of economic growth. Last week, PKR had moved to sack former Economic Affairs Minister Azmin Ali and former Housing and Local Government Minister Zuraida Kamarudin over their alleged role in orchestrating a new coalition in a bid to oust the Harapan government. The former PKR Deputy President, along with Zuraida, who had held a Vice President's post, however announced to quit the party, together with 9 other PKR MPs, to form an independent bloc. Sources later revealed that the PKR defectors had moved to join Bersatu under Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin's leadership and backed his appointment as the 8th Prime Minister. Fadia Nadwa is being probed for her involvement in protests over the weekend, and people who gathered to show solidarity with her at Bukit Aman yesterday are also being investigated. A small rally was held outside the Dangwangi Police District headquarters today to protest the police investigations initiated against several individuals, including activist Fadia Nadwa, for taking part in protests at Dataran Merdeka and Sogo recently.
4 activists have been called at 1 p.m. today. They are Fadia, Liu Liang Hong, Wong Yan Ke, and Nick Azura binti Nick Nasrun. This is in regards to Section 9 of the Akta Perhimpunan Aman lah. There were separate incidents.
Cops are also investigating Ambika Srinivasan and Marina Mahathir over their alleged involvement in the Save Malaysia protest. Some 100 people had attended the protest on Sunday to oppose the installation of the Perikatan National Government through a coup, despite police warning members of the public not to attend. The peaceful demonstration was organised outside the Sogo shopping complex by a group calling itself the Save Malaysia Demonstration Committee, which claims to comprise of civil society organisations. Police are also investigating Fadia over a separate protest on the same issue that was held at the Dataran Merdeka on Saturday night. With Muhyiddin Yassin sworn in as Prime Minister, Pakatan Harapan is hoping to prove in Parliament that he does not possess majority support. but looks like they'll have to wait a little longer. Pakatan Harapan's plan to initiate a vote of no confidence against Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin may have hit a speed bump after Speaker Muhammad Arif Mat Yusof revealed that the upcoming Dewan Rakyat session, originally scheduled to start on March 9th, has been postponed to May 18th. The Speaker said he had received a response from Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin last night regarding a new date for the third meeting of the 14th Parliament session. The Dewan Rakyat was initially scheduled to sit from March 9 to April 16, with Yang di-Pertuan Agong Sultan Abdullah Sultan Ahmad Shah gracing the opening ceremony. Sources, however, previously indicated that the sitting would be postponed to allow Muhyiddin time to appoint his cabinet lineup. Malay daily Berita Harian also quoted a source as saying that questions for this parliament sitting were submitted earlier, so time is needed to alter the order paper, and also questions will now be answered by new cabinet ministers. Pakatan Harapan is planning to initiate a no-confidence vote against Muhyiddin, as it claims it has the support of 114 MPs. But the situation remains in a state of flux, as MPs are still switching allegiances. The support of 112 MPs is needed for a simple majority. Coming up next, the global COVID-19 situation remains on high alert. Then we speak to Professor James Chin on the country's latest political movements. Our next story is brought to you by Blue Air. The COVID-19 fatality rate is 3 times higher than that of a seasonal flu. This is the latest situation around the world. The World Health Organization warned on Tuesday of a global shortage and price increase of protective equipment to fight the fast-spreading coronavirus and asked companies and governments to increase production by 40% as the death toll from the respiratory illness mounted. The WHO said that about 3.4% of confirmed cases of COVID-19 have died, far above the seasonal flu fatality rate of under 1%. But the virus can be contained.
That COVID-19 causes more severe disease than seasonal influenza. While many people globally have built up immunity to seasonal flu strains, COVID-19 is a new virus to which no one has immunity. That means more people are susceptible to infection, and some will suffer severe disease.
The virus continued to spread in South Korea, Japan, Europe, Iran and the United States, and several countries reported their first confirmed cases, taking the total confirmed cases globally to around 80 countries. According to the WHO, since the coronavirus outbreak, prices of surgical masks have increased sixfold, and 95 respirators have tripled in cost, and protective gowns cost twice as much. It estimates healthcare workers will need 89 million masks, 76 million gloves and 1.6 million pairs of gloves every month. China has seen coronavirus cases fall sharply, with 129 reported in the past 24 hours, the lowest since January 20th. As they struggle to get back on track, China is increasingly concerned about the virus being brought back into the country by citizens returning from new hotspots elsewhere. An official said that travelers entering Beijing from South Korea, Japan, Iran and Italy would be quarantined for 14 days. Shanghai has introduced a similar order. Malaysian politics has been a roller coaster recently. This is why we're speaking to Professor James Chin to make sense of what's going on. Based on what you've seen so far, you've seen Harapan back Anwar, then Mahathir. So do you expect more movements to happen in order for them to have enough seats?
Sure. So I expect a lot more movements will happen, and I think what will happen is that both sides will reach out to the undecided, and also we know that in every party there's a small group of MPs who do not really follow their leader. So I expect those people to be getting a calls very soon from both sides of the political divide.
Now the Speaker moved the Dewan Rakyat sitting to May. How will that affect Harapan's chances of pushing for a vote of no confidence?
So because the Prime Minister has asked that the sitting be moved to May, I think this will give him a very good 6 weeks in order to try to control the situation. So basically for Muhyiddin, I see his biggest challenge is now to get a clear majority. When I speak about clear majority, obviously I'm not talking about just the minimum 112. For the government to be very stable, he really has to look at probably between 120 and above in terms of MPs. So based on the latest calculation, he's probably starting from about 109 to 112. So he's really got to go around to the Pakatan side, all the independent MPs, and bring about 10 to 15 of them across to him before May. So I think that's crucial for him. Okay. The other three big challenges facing Muhyiddin, I see, is basically the following. The first one, of course, is the cabinet appointments. I think he will have a big problem with the cabinet appointments simply because if you look at the numbers game, PAS and UMNO is moving together as one block. So that block consists of about 60 MPs altogether. Muhyiddin's Bersatu block is still in a fluid situation. So the last time we count was basically those people who moved with him plus Asmin group, and they will come up to about 30. So they half as big as the UMNO PAS block. So this means that negotiations will be very difficult. His peak problem, of course, is that how do you bring in UMNO leaders who are currently facing corruption trials? So that's the first big challenge. The second big challenge, of course, is that he's got to deal with what is happening at the state level. So now that the federal Pakatan Harapan government has collapsed, this also have a direct implications for the state level politics. So we saw the Menteri Besar has changed in Johor already. So I expect your 4 other Menteri Besars will also change at the state level. Again, that has to be handled carefully. And that one is very, very difficult to handle because every state has its own, what shall we say, local factors involved. We know that in some states, that the Royal Palace takes a very strong intervention in terms of selection of MBs or ministers. So he's got to deal with that very carefully. Otherwise, there may be some blowback. And his third big challenge, of course, is that what do you do with Sabah and Sarawak? Right now, it's interesting because Warisan officially at the present moment, and I use the word carefully at the present moment, is still the Pakatan side. So Sabah has now turned from a government ally to an opposition state. Sarawak is now the reverse. GPS has said that they are ally of Perikatan Nasional, but they're not a formal member yet. So this means that for the very first time in a very long time, both Sabah and Sarawak are not linked to the federal government, right? So you got Warisan, which is also basically on the opposition side. GPS is sort of an independent player. So you have to watch out for Sabah and Sarawak because whether you like it or not, any problems in federal-state relationship now, especially at a sensitive time now, will lead to further turbulence at the federal level.
Do you think this narrative of UMNO and PAS will continue as they now become part of the administration?
I think UMNO and PAS will stick together because this very powerful narrative about Ketuanan Melayu Islam, I think this will hold them together until the next election. If there's going to be any tensions, it will be over cabinet positions because I think both UMNO and PAS, they're both eyeing for the Deputy Prime Minister's post. It is my understanding, and I could be wrong, that there's only one post on offer. So you cannot appoint both the UMNO leader and the PAS leader to Deputy Prime Ministers. I think that would be very problematic. So that's the first place. Secondly, in terms of the so-called key ministries, it's widely understood that PAS is after the ministry that deals with Islamic affairs and education. Traditionally, the education portfolio usually falls to UMNO hands. So I'm not sure that, they want to give that up as well. So I think you will see some tensions between these two parties. But on the whole, I think because they were successful in pulling down the Pakatan Harapan government, I think they will stay together for a little while longer.
And that is all for me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook for the latest news updates. I'll see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. I'm Prasad Michael. Thank you for watching.